Nobody's born incredible. People who do incredible things simply took the right steps. This is our journey. This is the hunt for incredible. In this episode, we continue our conversation with Caroline Ehler. In the previous episode, we spoke about how she strategically networked to jumpstart her career in commercial real estate, resulting in owning 470 units of multifamilies and self-storage within only 1 year at age 24. If you missed that episode, be sure to circle back around to it once you're done with this one. In this episode, we talk about the philosophy and mental models she used to make decisions that enabled her to move so quickly in life and business. All right, without further ado, here's my continued conversation with Caroline Ehler.
I think this is so great because I feel like a lot of different podcasts don't let me talk about all of this. I feel like I'm so passionate about the fact that people need to get uncomfortable. I'm so passionate about the fact that people need to take initiative. But don't always have an outlet to say all of these things. I just feel really convicted on all of them. And the biggest thing is like, you know, what you said, you have to get uncomfortable, have uncomfortable conversations. I'm in that time right now where you talked about where sometimes you do have to put the blinders on. I'm there right now. It's a year later. I have so many goals. I got to go just sit down, focus on those goals. Some of that is getting into more real estate deals, but I have a team now. So now I'm just sitting there. I'm just focused on working with my team and delivering for them. I'm focused on that book that I'm writing. I'm focused on all these things. So that's been so cool and different because it's a different life stage. Before, I was in that moment where I have to get uncomfortable. I had to exercise that muscle, and that you learn so much through the uncomfortable moments and trial by fire. Real estate is an industry where you cannot study it. You just can't. You can't study it. The market changes every day. You can prepare, but like you said, planning is not progress. If you're going to sit there and you're going to underwrite 300 deals and then finally think that like one day magically one of those deals is going to work, but you've been underwriting for 300 deals, you're lying to yourself. Get into a deal. If you don't want to be the sponsor then, and you don't want to be the person that's responsible for this underwriting and everything, go find a team and trust them. But you have to either trust yourself and just jump into it, or trust someone else if that's really the route you need to take. That's the route I needed to take. And just get into it, because what I learned in all my studying, and I am a massive academic, like I am a studier, and I studied everything for 2 years before I got into my deals. But oh my God, you learn everything else that's behind the curtain that you had no idea were even issues. You had no idea what these were things you could have prepared for, because you can't. And real estate is an industry where I just really encourage those people that if you feel like you're stuck in analysis paralysis, or you're stuck because you don't feel like you know the right people, go solve your own problem. Go buy that conference ticket. Go find a team you can trust. Or just commit to a deal. Change your deal criteria if you need to. Like if you're going to keep underwriting, you just got to get into a deal. Then you've built that resume. You can leverage that resume in all these other different places, and get more pointed with your goals. But if you never take that jump, you can't even get to the part where you're pointed with your goals and can put the blinders on. I'm now at that place where I feel like my goals can be more specific, more tailored to my actual mission in life. And I have this resume that I can basically leverage in all these different rooms, because I'm at this point now, and I did all that prep work, which was getting uncomfortable and jumping into things, even if it was premature. And so I've liked that path more than studying for way too long. And then all of a sudden I'm 30 and I'm still not in a deal. You know, I really want to challenge people it is so worth your time to dive in, rather than feeling like you have to be prepared 100%, because also no one is. You know that everyone is just doing their best. Like no one knows what's going on. A lot of real estate is proactive, like you have to be proactive and stuff, but a lot of real estate managing of assets is reactive, and no one knows what they're doing. So just why don't you just get into it? Why don't you just start, and then maybe you'll learn a little bit more.
Yeah, and being honest with yourself too. You are the easiest person to fool. Like fooling yourself is the easiest thing to do. And so you always have to be reflective and ask yourself, okay, why am I actually hesitant? Am I worried to pull the trigger on this because I don't have enough information and I'm making a decision based on ignorance, or am I fearful of it and I actually am ready? And I think that's what a lot of people do when they get into real estate as well, is they say, oh, I need more information. I need to read more books. I need to do ABC. But really, you have everything that you need. What you're scared of is diving in and the risk of diving in. But once you've identified that your fear is premised on that forward movement, and it's the forward movement into the unknown that you're worried about, but you already have everything you need, then you need to push through that fear and actually make that decision and dive in. And then also in terms of, it sounds like what you did was you put on the blinders because of what was revealed to you through engaging with more people and through talking to more people. When I got into real estate a year ago, I ripped through 12 books within the first 3 months just to learn about everything in the space. I took a similar approach to you where I said, okay, I know that I want to own assets because a big priority of my personal life is freedom, temporal, financial, and geographic freedom. And I thought, okay, owning assets is the way to go. My next question was, which space do I want to get in? How do I want to approach it? And so I listened to podcasts at a higher level, and then I took a deeper dive into the books once I had a closer idea of what I was looking for. I ripped through 12 books. I ended up buying a fourplex that we've talked about outside of this podcast, but we bought a fourplex that we ended up converting into short-term rentals and running it like a boutique hotel. And then that's when I thought, oh, I think boutique hotels is the way to go because I was familiar with the model. I like the way it worked. We had experimented with midterm rentals. We hadn't gotten into long-term rentals because I really wanted to explore the short-term options first, see how they worked. And it was on fire. And then from there, I started following Rich Summers. I joined his mastermind, and the rate of acceleration that I've been able to achieve through engaging with Rich and his team, it is by far one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my life, was joining that mastermind and getting the support from Rich, his team, and everybody else in the mastermind. I've built some incredible friendships that I know are going to be lifelong friendships, both on an emotional, personal level as well as a financial level, because I'm talking to people who are bloodthirsty to buy deals and scale, and they're close friends of mine, which is absolutely phenomenal. But it's through that mastermind that engaging with them and getting feedback from them on the direction to go and what works and what doesn't work, it cuts out so much guesswork that it gives me the confidence to put on the blinders and say, okay, this is where I want to zero in, laser focus, and just let it rip. And the last, I want to say 3 months of leaning into that fear has been so impactful for me, starting to create content, posting it every day, starting this podcast, starting to let that rip, diving into deals and calling brokers and really grinding forward, underwriting on deals, and then sending off LOIs to actually get the conversations going, and then now having a deal that may end up coming under contract pretty soon. It's super exciting to actually have that progress. And when you consider the compounding returns, like I'm 31, you're 24, we're still relatively young in our careers, even accelerating our progress by 10% this early on could result in multiple millions down the road. When you consider those compounding returns, I told Jackie, my wife, after the first week of being in the mastermind with Rich, that it was already worth it. I said, even if I don't close on a deal, worst case scenario, I don't close on a deal, all I do is hang out with incredible people and learn a lot. It was already worth it because my accelerated learning has been so fast that the compounding returns down the road, just from this shorter accelerated learning, is going to yield massive returns, absolutely massive returns. And yeah, you've done a killer job at that.
Thank you. I love what you said. And I think that's what's super interesting is going back with what you said. We sometimes lie to ourselves. We're the easiest to fool. And I think people underutilize mentors. And my mastermind, same thing. When I joined, it was already amazing within the first week. We have mastermind only events. They're super cheap. They're really easy to get to, and it's literally a party. It's like all my friends in one room, and we all hang out, but we're all talking business. And you don't have to explain yourself to people in the mastermind. They already understand where you're at, and they already understand where you're going, and they understand that you're a high achiever. Like, that's what's so cool for me. And it feels like when you have that moment when you know your family's backing you up or like your spouse is on the same page and they believe in you, that's what having a mastermind is for me. Like I know I have people backing me up and believing in me, but I really think people underutilize mentors. If I have an aspect in my life, I have a mentor for it. Literally anything that is personal training, that is life coaching. I have a therapist and I use him like a life coach because in those moments when you're lying to yourself, sometimes you know something's off and you know you're not, you could do more, but you don't quite know what it is. And you know how it's easy. If it's easy to fool yourself, that means other people are less easy to fool. That means other people can come in, look at your life, and diagnose a couple issues and hopefully shed light on, bring light to all the issues that you might be having but are blind spots to you. That is how I use my therapist. And I just think having a coach in every aspect of my life, that's multifamily, social media, other real estate, like there are so many things, but and they all definitely cost a ton and all the masterminds, right? But there are a lot of free mentors. So if you are someone that is saying it's too expensive, no, it's not. Let me tell you a couple free ones. One, if you are in a church, you just get a mentor. That's like usually a default of church stuff and faith-based activities. You can immediately find a mentor and they can start pouring life into you. Okay, that's number one. That's free. Bible studies are free. Other faith-based things are free. Secondly, if you have insurance, you can find people within your insurance that are like you could find therapists that are covered by insurance. My sessions, I think, are $5 because of my insurance. So it's still super feasible. If you are going to launch like this career like I did where you do a bunch of real estate conferences, you can go and up your game and you can get styled by something like at Nordstrom. You can get styled and they'll like help you find clothes that are flattering for you, and then you will walk into those conferences super cool. You're gonna stand out. You can tell them, you know, what style you're going for, and you will feel confident. You just got some new clothes, and they're actually like, you know, they were given to you by an expert. And I think that's totally free. There are so many little things in your life. If you really want to go and become that person of excellence, get a mentor for everything. It will speed everything up. You will already know you're doing it correctly because they're approving what you're doing. They are agreeing that it is the correct path, and you can up your game in every aspect of your life. And that is just the fastest way to level up, in my opinion, and to get to all your goals faster.
You're 100% spot on.
Life advice.
It's easy to say, oh yeah, get a mentor for different areas of your life so you can move faster, but I don't think people really, they don't often understand just how granular you can get with your mentorship. Like you're saying, hey, I'm going to go to Nordstrom and get a stylist who knows what on earth is going on. I'm not going to spend my time researching and figuring out what's going on and the best brands and all that stuff. I'm going to go to somebody who knows what they're talking about. That's been another major accelerant. I'm just going to keep bragging on the Rich Summers Mastermind because it has made such a profound impact on my life. But even the rate of progress from joining his mastermind of having somebody who's an expert at underwriting deals, that I can underwrite deals, fire them off to her. She's incredible. Gets back to me, says, oh, these are some areas that I would think differently about it, or I think you nailed it on those aspects. Or like insurance, there's a property that we were looking on the beach in Florida, and Rich said, oh, I wonder what insurance looks like over there. Fires off an email to his insurance guy, and within 15 minutes, I have a deep understanding of what the insurance for that property would look like, which radically accelerated me. I wasn't spending a week looking for the best insurance brokers, seeing who knows what's going on and just wasting my time. He saved me easily a week's worth of time and just catapulted me forward. And there's a really, really good book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and one other author who I wish I remember the name. We'll add it in the show notes. It's a super well written book. And the whole premise of that book is don't waste your time thinking about how to do something. Instead, ask yourself, who knows how to do it? Ask yourself who can accelerate your progress towards that thing. I'm in a phase in my life right now where I am operating a lot of my productivity through other people, and it has been such an accelerant. I was such a hustler all throughout my 20s that I was so willing to dive into the how and just grind with people, but really lead the charge. And I'm now at a phase in life where I have a team that's in front of me, pulling me forward. I'm literally just outlining goals that I want to achieve, casting a clear vision, supporting my team, and getting out of the way, doing everything I can to get out of the way, empowering them, letting them run with it. And it has made an incredible impact on my life and my productivity and how quickly I'm able to move by trusting the other people on your team, and then also leveraging mentors who know how to shape and guide that momentum.
I'm obsessed that you brought this up because I think there are a lot of people that have delegation issues. And that could be a slew of things. That could be pride and ego, and you don't want to delegate. That could be fear. You think people aren't going to do well. That could be simply you don't understand how to delegate and don't know how to do it effectively. There's so many different ways that you might not be able to delegate. If you don't have a VA, that's usually a sign that you don't like to delegate. If you get into that moment of analysis paralysis and don't maybe have mentors, that also might be a sign that delegation isn't your skill set. And I think there are a lot of different ways that you can get better at doing that and realizing it's important to leverage people. I think that's a great book suggestion. And I also think it's so funny because it made me think of this concept I used to do. I'm not even kidding. I think when I was in high school, I would be bored and I'd sit there bored. And sometimes someone would say something or some skill set would be just, you could tell that they were really good at something. And in my head, I'd say, okay, I'm going to add them to my team. I don't know what that means. I don't know what this means, but there was a hypothetical team in my head of all the people I was going to delegate things to if I ever was president or ran a company or had a startup or something like that. And I've done this my whole life, which is such a weird phenomenon, but it's like this game I have in my head, like who's on my team, who's on my board is basically what I was doing. And I was like 16 doing this. And now it's grown into I am good at delegation. I understand how to leverage a team. I understand how to leverage mentors. And I look at people in rooms and I say, who would I wish was on my team? Who do I wish was either championing me, or who do I wish was actually on my real estate team or in my company? And if you could just practice that exercise, it could be totally obscure. If your team includes Mark Cuban and LeBron James and you're good with that, that's fine. But at least you're gonna start and think, who is excellent at what they do? Why would I want them on my team? Is it because they're great people? I like them. They're funny. I think they're very ethical, or they're just a great, they're a master at their art. All of those are all good reasons to have them on your team, but start practicing it in your head with lots of hypothetical situations, and I think it will translate better into actually doing it in real life. And letting go of that concept of power. Like, you don't need to wear all the hats. A true entrepreneur doesn't wear all the hats. That's ridiculous. Like you said, we're building a machine, we're building a business that's fully operable without us. We need to be able to remove the humans out of the equation, or at least ourselves as the CEOs, and replace ourselves with workers that are, first off, better than us. If you can hire specialized skills, hire specialized employees, they will do it better than you. That's the fact. Like, that would be fantastic. I wish everyone on my team was the exact expert they need to be, and we could be this efficient machine and everyone did everything so well. I mean, that's how you build excellence, is not you learning every single skill or spending years to learn how to do real estate when really you could have just signed up for a mastermind or have a mentor or a coach and then done it in 3 months. That's the epitome of inefficiency. So, I think, oh, man, if you don't have a VA, start there. Just start there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also really interesting, there's a lot of value that comes from the shift of hiring people to tell them what to do versus hiring people for them to tell you what to do. Like, I tell everybody that I pull on my team, whenever they ask me questions of, what direction should I go? I say, I hired you to tell me what to do.
Oh my God,
So
that's so
you own this. I'll give you the outcome and the direction to go. and I'll make sure that everybody is going in the same direction. So that's how I view my position as a leader, is pulling the right people onto the team and making sure I'm crystal clear on the vision so that everybody's going in unison, right? Like the drummer, making sure everybody's marching to the beat and going in the right direction. But I want them to tell me what to do. I want to hire experts on my team. Like Rachel Media is who I'm using to actually like edit and release the content for this podcast. Rachel, the owner, is the one who's actually engaging with you as the podcast. She's a super fun personality and really shaping what that brand looks like. And my number one job when I engage with her, my number one is setting a vision of the direction that I want to go, giving her everything she tells me that she needs from me, and getting out of her way and just letting her run as quickly as she can with it. And it has made such a massive impact. And I think oftentimes people want to hire others to be extensions of themselves, almost like they are the center of the wheel with spokes coming out of it. But the challenge there is it's not as scalable, first of all. And second of all, the system becomes dependent of you. I am trying to build a system that I can remove myself from, and it'll continue humming along. And so right now, when I pull people on, there are even some incredible people that I've pulled on, and I've said, I don't know what I'm going to do with you yet, but you are a grade A, super high caliber person that I want to work with. So come on my team and let's figure out where you can add value. And pulling those great people on, bringing them onto the bus, and then figuring out what to do with them later has been super impactful to me, as well as just saying, hey, you tell me what to do. That's what I brought you on for. You're the expert. I'm just going to try to get out of your way.
That's fantastic. I wrote that down, to hire people that are experts so much so that they can tell you what to do and you don't have to give them all of the guidance, and that they don't have to be a direct extension of yourself. That's great.
And being selective with what your role is. It's touched on in Who Not How, around how the tasks that you take on should be creative tasks that only you can solve. If somebody else can solve it, let somebody else solve it. Let it create space in your life, because that space encourages creativity and you'll make higher quality decisions. And then let that be your focus. That's been another big challenge that I've run into, that I'm currently working on and will likely always work on it in my life, is I am so down for the grind. I love the grind. Caroline, I love the grind. I want to dive in, roll up my sleeves, and rip through work. And I have to be mindful sometimes that the work doesn't need to belong to me. I can actually step back, be creative, and set that direction, and then let other people drive forward.
How do you do that with social media? I've found a lot of value in actually taking ownership of social media rather than delegating it out, or exclusively delegating it out. And when you own some of those videos, I think social media is different though, where you can't fully outsource it. If you fully outsource it, it's not going to feel like you. And I wanted to just ask how that looks for you.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm a firm believer in buying your time back and creating the job that you want, and doing the things that bring life out of you. Or actually, no, pour life into you. They bring energy out of you, right? So like, what tasks give you energy? What tasks get you excited? And then focusing on those, and then outsourcing the tasks that you dislike, because those tasks that you dislike bring somebody else joy. And so where I've found with my social media is I actually have a really good time coming up with the content and editing the content myself. It's turned out to be a creative outlet for me that I've really enjoyed. So I don't outsource the editing or any of that for that specific reason. There may be a time when I'm just coming up with the content and I'm shaping the brand because that's what excites me, and then I have somebody else edit it. Similarly to this podcast, I don't edit the podcast and I don't manage the podcast social media because I'm letting Rachel Media just run with it. Because for me with the podcast, what brings me life and gets me really excited is picking the guests, coming up with the questions, and having great conversations. So that's what I want to do. And then through that, I end up shaping the brand of the podcast. But then like the social media, what the audience engages with, that is a collaboration in terms of the brand with Rachel Media, who's effectively the brand manager as well, and is helping shape like the voice of the podcast and stuff in terms of social media. So that's what I would say is I think it depends on what you really enjoy doing and what brings you life, because that's probably the thing that you're best at anyway. And if you bring a team together where everybody is doing the thing that they enjoy and what they're the best at, that's when you're going to achieve the best results.
I think that's really smart. And I think that it also shows that you really like that part of social media, because that's why I wanted to ask, because I just really feel like you hadn't outsourced much of it. But that's a big thing right now where I think a lot of influencers or gurus are trying to buy maybe too much of their time back in the
Mm,
social media world, where um social media doesn't really honor people that outsource it. If it
mm.
doesn't feel like it's coming from you, people can tell that it's not authentic, or that it just feels factory made. And I think social media is definitely finicky, where you can't, if you can outsource a couple things or editing or something like that, but it is really interesting to own the editing part, because you get to be the creative director on your own social media. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I'm so new to the content creation game that I'm still on the journey of figuring out what I want my brand to look like. I am just now getting more out of the exploratory mode and more in the blinders mode, like we've been talking about, where in the beginning, I was just making a bunch of different types of content. Rich Summers challenged me, make a piece of content a day for 365 days. And so phase one was just building the machine that cranked out content. My success was binary based on, did I release a piece of content today or not? And I was just refining the machine, playing with different ways of editing, getting creative with it, posting different types of content, different types of topics presented in different ways. And then now I'm in the phase where it's, okay, I have my system down. I know what I like, what I don't like. How do I actually shape the content and the delivery and more fine tune it? And yeah, I do think shaping your personal brand is really important, obviously, because it's your personal brand. But at the same time, if somebody hates creating content, like they generally hate the creating of the content or the editing or whatever else it is, but they do feel like there is value in posting content, I would argue that maybe it's even better for them to outsource it. And like you're saying, social media doesn't reward people who aren't as deeply engaged with the building of the brand, but it may still do better than if they tried to build it themselves, but they hate it every second of the way, you know? So it's, I mean, it is a tricky balance. But yeah, I'm a firm believer, whatever you absolutely love and what you're incredible at, find how to deliver value in that thing, and then subsidize what you're lacking with other people coming in who love that thing.
Agreed.
Full stop. Well, cool. So I also want to touch on the book that you mentioned. So you're writing a book. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes, I am writing a book. So this is something that I mentioned briefly, where I used to run a marketing company. And man, I learned so much through that time in terms of running a company, but also marketing. I mean, social media is so powerful. I think that there are a lot of operators that don't leverage it enough. And there are a lot of people that don't fully understand what their funnels should look like. So we helped Alex set up all of his funnels, to the point where now he's raised millions of dollars off of social media. And that is so powerful to have built, and then also witnessed that he is actively raising capital just because he posts on social media. It is so simple in terms of that time value ROI. I mean, social media is not a lot of time, even though it's annoying and it's going to be hard for the first couple months. But you become more efficient. Like you said, you can build that machine, and it is extremely valuable. If you can gain a following, it's very powerful. But this book is on raising capital using sales funnels, and it will touch on digital marketing. It will touch on social media, but there are so many different ways that you can raise capital through sales funnels that they're not limited to social media. Social media just is a great platform to be able to push funnels. So that's what a lot of people do. And I really see, again, operators are just underutilizing sales funnels in general. Some people don't need crazy built out sales funnels. Some people are like a family office, like that's different. But if you're a more self-made operator, I think that this is going to be the book for you on in terms of how to start. If you're brand new to that concept, this is definitely a good book. It covers things from as assuming you know nothing, but also people that are more experienced. I think there will be a lot of fine tuning within the book. So that'll come out in September. If you want early access, you can join my book launch team at genzequity.com/book. And you'll get a bunch of content, a bunch of access to the book. You'll probably get like a free, I haven't determined all this, free audiobook, I think. So very exciting. And this is my first book. So it's been a freaking journey. But I think my favorite part is just getting all my thoughts on paper. That has been so therapeutic because I have a ton of thoughts on this. And I really like that I got to put it in sort of like a file, but it's a book. So I am really excited to share that with people. And yes, the book is a sales funnel. Thank you. It is going to help me also raise capital and also expand my network. So I'm really excited about it.
That's super exciting. I was super stoked when I got on the email list pretty early on. I think, yeah, like a few weeks ago. I'm super pumped about it. I think it's also really important to note it almost doesn't matter what you are trying to do. If you are trying to build something that has never been built before, or if you're just building a business in general, social media is not leveraged enough. I've spoken to so many business owners who they're not on social media because they don't realize the impact of it. When I spoke to Rich, he said social media has been one of the biggest levers that I've come across, and he's absolutely crushing the social media game. He's been a close mentor of mine through this social media journey, but that was part of why he said, Gid, you need to be posting every single day. You need to get out there because this lever is massive. And I didn't realize how quickly it would make an impact on things. I thought to myself, okay, once I'm at 10,000 users, coming from tech, I'm calling them users. Once I have 10,000 followers, then I'll start gaining some traction and people notice I'll have good conversations. Within the first week, I have 400. I started with 400 followers. Now I have like 550 or something. Within the first week, I was having incredible conversations with people who I knew who didn't realize that I was in real estate, people who were interested in investing, or other people that were in real estate that were reaching out to me saying, oh, yeah, you're in real estate too, and just catalyzing these incredible conversations. Within a month, I was talking to amazing people like you, building really phenomenal relationships, other people who are grinding and hustling and trying to grow in that space. And I have already had multiple investor conversations with people who I was friends with who were looking for that vehicle to invest in. And now we're having conversations around what them investing in my deals would actually look like. So I'm super pumped to read your book, understand what building that funnel looks like and how to actually leverage the different phases of the funnel to create really incredible things with people that wouldn't be able to be created otherwise.
Social media is definitely underutilized, and we've never, ever experienced a totally free marketing platform before. I mean, if you aren't using it in your business, you're a fool because it's fully free. You don't need paid ads. You just need to produce good content. And this entire platform, who's already provided the infrastructure and all the users, will push your own content out for free. I mean, that's absurd. We've never had that before. Usually you had to mail out your own mailers. You had to put an ad in the newspaper. You had to put an ad in the magazine. You had to put an ad on TV. You had to pay for that website being built and hosting it. This is a completely free hosting site, basically a platform where you get to be the person that's pushing content because it's good for the platform to have content to push. So it's definitely special things. A lot of things changed. Things like Instagram became more business oriented when they stopped with the chronological feed, when they started pushing out accounts that weren't just the most recent to a post, but instead the ones that you engage with the most. And now the people that are in your feed are the ones that you actually like the most. Man, that changed the algorithm forever. And then they realized they could monetize it because basically businesses can push more and more content. Targeted ads became a thing. There's so many things that came about just through social media. And it's really fascinating how like you said, like how engaging people really are. I did not expect it either, because I have the same story within the first the first month of me doing this consistently. I mean, the followers definitely came in more rapidly than I anticipated. But the other thing was, it just, people really utilize the DMs. People will totally DM you
100%.
and ask you questions and start conversations. You're like, who are you? I don't even know you.
Yep.
But it's so crazy because you don't need people's phone numbers anymore. You don't. You
Yeah.
don't need phone numbers to be able to text people or have conversations with them. This is more engaging than a newsletter. There's never been an opportunity where I can post newsletter type of content and immediately get their feedback through comments, likes, and also DMs. Because I mean, people really, really like having conversations on social media. I know Gen Z, people would rather DM you than text you.
Yeah,
and I think that that's so funny how quickly it's shaping our ways of communicating, but like it's so fascinating. And I really hope business owners and operators, you know, look again at social media. Don't poo-poo it. It's actually fantastic. And if you're willing to invest in it, I mean, it can totally reap a bunch of rewards and build your following and build your brand, build the rapport you have with those followers. I like social media because you can have daily client touches with story postings, and it's important to remain relevant when you're trying to raise capital. When you have investors, you want to continue to build rapport with them. And if they see you every day on social media, they're going to remember you. And they're not going to invest with somebody who sent them a newsletter once a month. They're going to invest with you, who they see every day, and like that you post pictures of your dog, and like that you're a family man. Like there are so many reasons why you're going to prefer the person that you follow on social media to the person that you get in your inbox.
Yep, 100%. I've been posting for, I think I'm at 5 weeks now, and I've already built amazing relationships and created amazing opportunities that I'm super stoked about. So speaking of social media, where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me on every single platform. My Instagram is ITS Caroline Ehler. It's ITSCAROLINEEHLER. It's Caroline Ehler is my tech. So that's been crazy. And I would love to be able to chat with you on social media. If any of you are listening, follow me, but also DM me and let me know that you listen to the podcast episode. And I'd love to meet you and just chat with you because maybe we'll get into a deal. You never know.
Awesome. Well, Caroline, thank you so much for joining. I'm super stoked when the book comes out. If this episode is released after the book release, then I'll be sure to include the link in the show notes. You included where people can find you and where they can sign up for the early release of the book, which I highly recommend everybody does. And it's been a pleasure having you.
Thanks, Gideon. This was awesome. Thanks, everyone.